Welcome everybody. I'm here with our leadership team for the Implementer product, and we're really excited to be able to bring to you some new things going on with the product, and talk a little bit about where we see the product going into the future a little bit as well. I just wanted to kind of kick things off from a corporate standpoint to let you know that PTC is alive and doing well. Headquartered here in the seaport of Boston. We continue to be growing at record rates as a company with over 30,000 customers, about 6,700 employees, hundreds of partners and systems integrators. And as you can see, we have a very high market cap of 15.3 billion and a very healthy set of verticals. The verticals, most of which are your companies represent, as you can see here below, if you look in the great area vertical. PTC is a thriving technology company doing very, very well, and you're in good hands having Implementer coming from PTC. You can see here are some of the analyst comments over the last few quarters that they've made, about some of our results. They've, done really, really well with our stock price. You can see that PTC is now on the S&P 500. That's new back in April. And we're just about ready to finish our fiscal FY21, which, the last day of the quarter is September 30th for us. We just are actually, this is the beginning of our FY22 year. So welcome to Happy New Year in FY22 from PTC. Earning results will come out shortly, and we're excited to share them with you, as well as our plans at the company level coming up. You should hopefully feel good about being part of the PTC ecosystem. We take social responsibility very seriously. We've invested a lot with the company, with our organization, with a lot of other external partners to help us to make sure that we're really a great place to work. You can see here we continue to be recognized by a lot of organizations as in the recent hard work that the company's doing to make sure that everybody can feel like they're part of the success of PTC here. So hopefully you feel good about that we continue to do good work in that area, and continue to build on it, frankly. And we've leveraged think of the Focus Solutions Group. The group the leadership team from the Implementer team here that's on the call today presenting to you today. Think of us as the Focus Solutions Group as really a set of resources that have been taken from parts of the company over time and put 100% dedicated on this product. So, as the company continues to grow and do really well with the new disruptive technologies like augmented reality and additive manufacturing and Internet of Things, and there's all these great new disruptive technologies PTC is, the leader of in its classes for each of those categories. We took great care to make sure that we don't let the resources needed to keep all the core products in the company, like Implementer, to make sure that our resources stay focused on what's important to you, what you need to run your business, to make sure your change management solution is supported, implemented, upgraded, enhanced. And that's what we're here to talk about a lot today. The Focus Solutions Group that we're part of, we built this Focus Solutions Group to make sure that all those other technologies don't distract us from taking care of your needs. So that's how we fit in organizationally. We build, we implement, we support, we service Implementer. And the team here is very experienced, or reliable. The product is reliable. We're thrilled with the accolades we get for our Implementer change management product, and we want to continue to make it better and to make it solve the issues that you have. And so think of today as an interactive, not going to be very interactive, I guess, in the presentation mode, but an engagement of exchanges of ideas and what's important. It's not just an event in time. We want it to be an ongoing communication and engagement with you. So today is by no means the only time we want to talk to you and hear from you. So, please think of this as an ongoing dialogue. That's how we think about it. And we want to make sure that you have the opportunity to have input into where Implementer goes. So, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Alan Brown. Alan is one of our senior leaders here in the organization. And he is responsible for the MKS Toolkit product, Xserver, as well as Implementer, and then some other products at PTC, such as CADS5 and Integra. And so I think he's going to kind of kick off the product segment of today's session, and then you'll hear from Don Boone. Okay, Alan, you're on.
Yeah, Matt, have you got control?
He does.
I believe Don has control.
Okay, good enough.
I do.
As Joe just said, my name is Alan Brown. I manage R&D, technical support, and product management for several of the developer tool products in the Focus Solutions Group Center of Excellence. Our customers are always our top focus, listening and ensuring that people who are primarily focused on technical support can access all of the resources they need, including anyone in R&D, is our highest focus. And we'll often find that our R&D is directly on the phone with the customers. So as a result, we perform all sorts of tasks. We wear a lot of hats. We're watching for changes that in operating systems, in perhaps our competition, to ensure that we're putting in new features or new capabilities. We're evaluating the competition to ensure that we remain the industry leader in our area of specialty. We always prioritize customer enhancement requests. We release patches in the rare case that customers are blocked by a need for a change. We do frequent full releases, ensuring the ongoing quality of new features, and each one has one or more test cases to ensure that it's working, and of course, minimizing regressions from previous releases. So we're also updating and enhancing documentation on a regular basis. We're giving pre-sales demos, and we're discussing technology options with our prospects. And we're tracking all of the change within the product that used to be called Integrity and is now called Windchill RVNS for total visibility internally. So our internal implementer is tied with our integrity server, our corporate integrity server. This means that we wear a lot of hats. We also have visibility across job titles, much more like you would see in smaller companies. And we all have to work closely together to ensure our customers are successful. But there's another hat that we all have to wear that I'm going to talk about today, and that's cybersecurity and software licensing. And the things we do here to keep Implementer, and that's probably more specifically Implementer Server and RDI, free of known vulnerabilities. So next slide, please. I'm not seeing the next slide. There we go. Thank you. We all like to get something for free, but let's be honest, developing software is hard work. Developing a complete solution with software and installers and documentation and testing and all the processes around it is really very hard work. And it's a full-time and professional job. It's very enticing for us to supplement our product with web servers or web services and other free frameworks. And I will say that, Implementer is no different. We have done this, and we tried to do so as safely as possible. And I remind everyone of the most recent Atlantic pipeline and solar winds and the cost. And I'll talk a little bit about costs a little bit later. And I don't want to be fear-mongering, but you're only as safe as your weakest link. And where is that in your environment? Now, we all know that the IBMI is secureable, but that does not mean that your environment is secure. And it's possible to break in through open IP ports and gain control. So I urge everyone not to be lulled into a false sense of security just because we work on an IBMI. There are threats to us, and it does depend very much on what you expose externally and how well you secure your environment. So next slide, please. So let's talk a little bit about licensing. There are all sorts of licenses out there. There are websites dedicated to licenses. And there are various different levels of acceptability to businesses. So I'm going to start with the GPL, which is designed, it seems, to ensure that every piece of software you add to the free software also becomes free, sort of like a virus. And so PTC does not use GPL software, but there are other licenses, BSD, MIT, Apache, that are very open, and you can do pretty much what you want as long as you give credit to the authors. So when we use open source or incorporating open source into our software, we need to know how it's licensed and what that implies for your environment, not just our own intellectual property. PTC does use software with an MIT, BSD, and other permissive licenses, along with a lot of our own homegrown code. All licenses used have been enumerated and approved by our legal department. And I'll say again, there's no GPL in Implementer. Now, when you buy software, are you asking your vendor for a list of licenses in use? Can they provide it quickly? Do they even know what's in use? Some of our customers are demanding that we enumerate such licenses before they will buy or renew. Next slide. Writing a well-designed and secure software is really not a background task. It's a full-time profession to be taken seriously. Like any profession, programmers need to stay current on best practices and be constantly modernizing their skills. Now, not all open source is written by unqualified developers, but the quality and security of open source does vary widely. So when you pick open or closed source, it's important to verify who designs and writes it and what its maturity and development process look like, including verifying if eliminating security attack vectors through better design review, code reviews, and testing are core values. How long have the volunteers been with the project? How long will they stay? And what happens if they leave? And how dependent are you on the software that is no longer maintained? Do they take security awareness training classes? Can you even find out? Today, every open TCP port, every command line flag, every library is a potential attack vector. PCC is dedicated to ensuring that we're not the cause of some calamity, as we hear about every other day on the news, ransomware, malware, data thefts. To that end, we have security awareness training for all developers and processes which encourage thinking about security and vulnerabilities at all stages: architecture, design, code reviews, testing, including but not limited to tracking all open source software, watching for reported vulnerabilities and proactively patching release software. But watching for vulnerabilities is not the end. Sources run through automated tools and libraries are scanned. It's probably impossible to completely remove all vulnerabilities, but we take the possibilities seriously and make every effort within our power to ensure that you are as safe using our software as we can humanly make it. Recently, one of our customers commented that he noticed that the improvement in our maturity to the point where we had obviously improved what he called security posture, such that it's better than most of his vendors. This is by design. Next slide, please. Now, that's not to say that all open source is vulnerable or has poor processes, is not managed well, but it is another thing to consider as we're putting software on your network, which is only as safe as the weakest link. And the cost of a successful attack can be massive, as we have seen recently. So I'm asking everyone to be careful and not be lulled into a sense of security, and do ask questions about what is being put on your network. And consider also, for example, where are you going to put things like Implementer Server? Are they going to sit on the IBM I, or are they going to sit on, say, a Linux box on the side? And make good decisions about these kinds of So at PCC, we take software security very seriously. Regularly, we hear about a company attacked by ransomware or general malware, and at what cost in money, productivity, and reputation. Now, an IBM I is much more securable than your average server until you start opening up TCP ports, exposed services on your network, etc. This is starting to occur more and more. Now, for example, Implementer Server uses Tomcat, and we have it configured to open 2 ports, and we have it fairly locked down. So when you install it, it is very limited in its use. But as such, PTC ensures that Tomcat and the libraries are up to date at each release. As part of a normal pre-release audit, we enumerate all the third-party libraries and tools. The audit discovered that PTC Implementer had some out-of-date libraries with some known but not relevant vulnerabilities. And in all cases, out of an abundance of caution, we decided to update the software to the most recent versions with the most recent patches. In many cases, the software, in many cases, as the software was integrated, it was discovered that the vulnerability probably didn't apply to us, but we felt that it was better to be safe than sorry. Next slide, please. So I want to summarize quickly. It's not a bad idea to know what your vendors use to build their software. Is it homegrown? Is it open source? What processes are in place to ensure that security and a reduction in attack vectors are core parts of the development process? Most of our code is not remotely accessible, except through green screens, which should be securing. But we do put a server, which, as I said earlier, need not be run on the IBM I, which is written in Java, which uses open source. We enumerate every jar and every version that we ship, and we acquire such jars from reputable sources, and we still would be willing to supply a patch if we see a vulnerability is discovered outside of our normal release cycle. Many libraries in the RDI plugin and Implementer Server were updated in this release. Next slide, please. So one of our core values here at PTC is customer first.
Hey, Alan,
Yeah?
can I make a quick comment? Oh, look, I mean, that was really important information that you were just talking about. I just want to make sure people have an appreciation as to why we're spending so much time on this. You know, the number one thing that can stop your business and ours, by the way, is the topic Alan was just talking about. The success of you running your business, and just like us here at PTC, the success of running our business as well, is completely stifled, completely, if we don't take care of the cybersecurity issues and the vulnerabilities and the risks that everybody out there is trying to impose on our companies. So we take that very seriously. And as you heard from Alan, we'll continue to be very diligent in making sure that we're plugging any potential vulnerability that we can see. So, we'll continue to work with you guys on that. And if you have some things you want us to focus on in that area, we will. But just know that we take that area very, very seriously. And that's why Alan invested some time to kind of go through all that. Thanks, Alan.
Sure. It is one of the things that keeps me awake at night. Making sure that we're not vulnerable, that we've done the things that we need to do to keep software safe and keep our customers safe. All right, so are we on the what next? I don't see. We need to be on the next slide, please. Or maybe we are on the next slide. Mine is slowed updated. I apologize. So one of our core values here at PTC is customer first. The implementer team has always been strongly customer focused, right back into the MKS days. And before I turn this over to Don, let me finish up by looking at the last 10 years with PTC and all that we've accomplished. We have released either 1 or 2 full releases every year containing new features you have requested and some bug fixes. And we plan a new one each year going forward. We've released patches as needed to fix problems as you encounter them. Each new release of the IBMI is tested, hardware and software certified. And each new revision of RDI is recertified. So let me turn things over to Don to talk about the rest of the 12.5 release and bring you up to date on all things Implementer.
Thanks, Alan. My slide switching is very slow, so thank you. Well, some of you might know me because you talked to me on the phone. I've been with Implementer for about 23 years. I know it's hard to believe I'm that old, but I have done support. I still do support. I've done QA. I've done public training classes. I've gone out to customer sites to do installations and configurations. I am Implementer. So what makes Implementer different than some of the other change management products out there? We've thrived for over 30 years. We don't do any outsourcing of R&D or technical support. We don't purchase other products to plug into Implementer and claim them as our own. And we use Implementer to develop Implementer. Implementer is all we do. Our developers aren't focused on 3 other products. They work solely on Implementer. Every area of the market, retail, finance, banking, insurance, has an IBMI, needs change management, and a lot of them select Implementer. So, for those of you unfamiliar with Implementer, I'm going to real quickly go through the Implementer menus. We use a 4-menu system. The first menu is what you'd probably do every day. The workbench, where you do your development, where you can start your promotions through. Number 11, work with objects, is an inventory of all the items, source, and objects that Implementer finds on your system. The second page of the menu, emergency handling, archiving, and a handful of the reports we provide you in Implementer. Some of you have probably never dig this far on the Implementer menus. The fourth page is for administration when you're setting up Implementer, defining users and their capabilities, environments that explain what the libraries are. Design Tracker is a legacy issue tracking system. And the fourth page of the menu, release control, that software companies use. They use Implementer to distribute their products to other locations. And some commands available to you in Implementer, just a teaser to let you know that they are there. So what's new in Implementer 12.5? Well, since IBM iOS 7.2 went out of support on April 30th of 2021, we've changed the minimum requirement for Implementer 12.5. 7.3, technology refresh 5 or higher, or OS 7.4. All versions of Implementer require international components for Unicode to be installed on your system. There's a couple of PTFs from IBM you should have if you're using Implementer Server or to handle full SQL. The Implementer 12.5 release is available for download right now on the eSupport portal. I'll show you that in a minute. We've made some improvements to the RDI plugin. As Alan mentioned, the open source jar files have been updated to a more secured version. With Implementer 12.4, some customers had a connection struggle with the RDI plugin. We have corrected that. And when rejecting in RDI, we only show you the items that are currently locked. So that cleans up your screen, allows you to focus on just what you're working on right now. For our 2E customers, there was a decimal data area error that may happen performing a checkout in 2E. We fixed that. And we made the create request screen behave better when you hit enter or F9. Implementer Update is the desktop tool used to download the upgrade, perform installs, apply patches, upgrade Implementer, and also create a diagnostic package for support. So the enhancements we've made here in the Implementer Update tool is we put the Implementer Update version in the diagnostic package. Sometimes a problem can be solved as quickly as please update the version of Implementer Update you're running. Anytime we show you a URL in patch details, those are clickable links now. Something that used to drive me crazy, because it happened to me every day, was the window sizing. When you went to log in, depending on your screen settings, the login was shrinked and you couldn't see the password field. We have fixed that window sizing issue. When you're doing an upgrade using Implementer Update, if you open up the advanced options, you'll see the ability to retain the ISO for later uploads. So if you're upgrading 3 or more receivers, you won't have to keep going through the download phase, which depending on speed could take a little while. Other general housekeeping tasks we took care of. We cleaned up the job log from a lot of excessive messages so that you can pinpoint down exactly where the error is. Throughout the product, we've made additions and enhancements to help text. And we made it easier to delete an environment that's no longer being used. There used to be a weird catch-22 there where you went to delete an environment, it says it was related to itself. So you had to go break that relationship in order to delete it. It was annoying for people. So we fixed that, made that better. And just another couple of things we enhanced. Internally in Implementer, anytime we use the run SQL command, we qualified it to QSys. A lot of our customers have modified the run SQL command, or they have tools on their system that provided a modified run SQL command. For external data structures, you don't have to specify the external name keyword in the source. These are now registered as related objects. There's a Japanese version of Implementer. We corrected a couple places where the text was confusing. And we've started to make headway into changes for promotion scheduling. You can go to the PTC eSupport portal to get a complete list of fixes, enhancements, get the release notes, download the 12.5 release, etc. And I'm going to take a little dive into the PTC eSupport portal. So once you're on the support portal, you'll maneuver to download software. You'll expand the implementer selection till you see 12.5, which is the most recent release. Expand till you finally get the most recent date code. And when you download, you're actually downloading the most current version of the implementer update tool. So if you're already using implementer update, the systems and the libraries you've defined are retained. You right-click on a system to use the downloader for upgrading. We connect to the PTC FTP site using your PTC sign-on, which is your email address and a password you set. We download an ISO image, set it up as an image catalog in the IFS. We create a virtual optical device, populate the image catalog, load the image catalog, and then you're instructed to sign on to the IBMI and perform the actual upgrade using the load run command. On the eSupport portal, I'll get to that question in a minute. On the PTC eSupport portal, search the knowledge base. We have over 2,000 knowledge base articles specific to Implementer. You can key in a message ID, short terms, SQL table, etc., and hopefully one of those articles will come up. If they don't come up, you have the ability to log a support case right there. You can browse the documentation for Implementer for the current release and supported past releases. And that's where you find the link to get to the download software site. Here's the section of the eSupport portal where you can view the service requests that you've previously logged and open a support case. Opening a support case on the eSupport portal is the fastest, easiest, most convenient way to reach PTC technical support. You get to describe the question or the problem in your own words. You can immediately attach job logs, print screens, Word documents, etc. right there. And a PTC technical support rep for Implementer will get back to you. I want to make sure to tell you that on the PTC eSupport portal or on the PTC website, manage notifications. You must opt in or subscribe to get notifications to webinars like this, security alerts, patches that are available, and new versions of Implementer. So please opt in to receive Implementer notifications. You can narrow it down based on product, And you can even have more than one product. You can see here, I've got Implementer and 2 other products.